Larson.
And I'm Matt Gross.
And this is Post Race Purgatory, where we judge all things NASCAR. Today we just finished the Martinsville race, and Kyle Busch has joined the Martinsville Club.
Yes, and what we mean by the club is that Martinsville is a track where you tend to see the same drivers run well there each time you go back there. Mm-hmm. Jeff Gordon historically was always good there, right up to his very last race there, won. Jimmy Johnson, we talked a couple of drivers who ran well today, referenced passing Jimmy Johnson several times. We'll get to that in a moment. Denny Hamlin, who had trouble today, normally runs up front. So today, Kyle Busch enters the club, and there may be others not far behind him, which is what I think was really, really interesting about today's race.
Appearing at the gate. And what is so interesting, Martinsville has always been one of my favorite tracks to see. Of course, I've got the bias because it was very good for my driver over the years. My favorite race to see in person. So just before we get back to this point, if you are considering going to a race, I beg you to give this racetrack a shot because it is bar none my favorite race, that track that I have ever been to.
It's one of the best shows you will
see.
Everything's right in front of you. Small. I have not been to Busch. I've been to several of the tracks.
Yes, we have, but we have been fortunate enough to go to a lot.
But of all of the tracks, close to a dozen of them, and Martinsville is just a tremendous show. And I hate to see even any empty seats because I would hate to see this track lose a date.
It is
because it
so
puts on,
good.
Even today,
without
a lot of wrecks, it just is either way. If it's green, it produces a good show. If there's a lot of incidents, we saw last fall, it produced a wild show. It just is a very, very entertaining product.
It's a unique piece of NASCAR racing. And because it is so unique, what we have going on, alluding back to what we were saying before, is it is absolutely this club where driving at Martinsville is a technique. You either have the technique or you don't. And I've always compared this a little bit to like learning a language.
I think that was the that we had.
Is when you go to learn a language, they recommend the best time to learn a language is when you are young. And translating to Martinsville as a rookie. You're never going to do well as a rookie. But if you learn the techniques your first few years running
first 4 or 5 years,
you are going to always run well at Martinsville. You're always going to do well here. The later in life, the later years you go, if you have not picked it up, the chances of you picking it up become less and less. It's still possible that maybe one day you will make this click, but Martinsville, it's a different technique, and if you don't pick it up early on, there's a good chance you are never going to run well here. And other drivers...
And for the most part, I agree with you, and this is why I think Kyle Busch's win is interesting, because he kind of is the guy who who literally took 15 years to get better and better. He is kind of he is the antithesis. And generally, I agree with you, but today we have the antithesis to that point, which is why I think this was an interesting day. I think today is actually a little bit of a counterpoint to what we generally see at this track, which is what I kind of wonder is, was this a little bit of a changing of the guard at Martinsville? Was this time saying, boy, maybe Kyle Larson's going to be in that club one day. He ran one of the better races he's run in a long time here. Third. AJ Allmendinger. Now, he's run well here in the past. You remember the race where Clint Boyer caused the wreck at the end, and he shot through from like 7th place to get a top 2 or 3 finish. He's run very, very well here in the past. But today, start to finish, this was not he was helped out by a rep.
Performance. Beautiful job. Aggressive where he needed to be, smart where he needed to be. There's a lot of things you have to do strategy-wise, and I absolutely. Kyle Larson said in his post-race interview, he sees a grandfather clock in his future.
Yeah, that was a great line.
And I do too. I see that for him because he picked up one of the greatest things I saw him doing all day was understanding when to pull up on the driver in front of him to not let a driver on the outside.
His drive off. I don't think the one that you said you cannot miss a trick at Martinsville when you got a driver pinned to the outside. You must take advantage of that immediately, and I think he picked up every single one of those tricks today. So that was very, very big.
So I really do see that, but I see what you're saying, a little bit of a change of the tide. I think Martinsville's once you get it, you will always get it. However, as good as and impressive as Kyle Busch, he had a great race. He won the Truck Race Series, so he sweeped it out there. I give him full credit here. But I do think, in the sense of it changing, they had an easier day because Jeff Gordon retired.
Yep, that took one of the big names off the board.
Jimmy's setup, his car was just
they would not
as good today. And okay, sometimes you will get that. I can tell you right now, Chad Canals is not going to let that happen.
They're going to be better in the fall.
That's going to be better. And also, Denny Hamlin making just terrible mental mistakes today. This is one of his best tracks.
And in the same light, I think Brad Keselowski's very good here as well. He gets a speeding penalty early on in the race, and then he ends up in an accordion effect on the restart, bowed in the front of the car. Now, he still ended up running in the top 5 for much of the second half of the race, but I don't think that car was as good as it was in the first run when he came up there. So I think even Keselowski was weakened a little bit by a foolish penalty early in the race. So the door was open, but what was interesting is we saw a lot of people take advantage of it. Look, I said one thing when at the end of the race when Mike Choi talked about, he said Kyle Busch has never won here. He's being chased by AJ Allmendinger, who's never won here. I looked up and said, hey, Larson's running third. He's never won here. Austin Dillon's running fourth. He's never won here. When's the last time you've seen the last lap at Martinsville with the top 4 guys have never won?
Are not winning.
It's
incredible.
Incredible.
So not what you expect.
So that's why this race was interesting, even though it was the opposite of last fall, where you had just chaos all over the place and people wanting to kill each other. But this was a very, very different tune, and this is what makes Martinsville so great, is that it can be a fantastic show in both ways, and I think you saw that. And how about Allmendinger's interview after the race? That was so refreshing.
That's what you want to hear. You want to hear a driver call it like it is, show the passion, show the results, take responsibility, saying, I didn't like who I was last season. Give your team credit where credit is due, and show it not just in your attitude, but in your race results. Loved it.
Yeah, I thought everything was, all of that I liked. The other thing that I liked, and we've talked about this before, is, boy, if you did not get your car set up in that first run, those first 100 laps of the race, boy, did you pay for it. Usually you have some point in the race where you have 4 or 5 cautions in a row, and with NASCAR's free pass system, you're going to end up with a bunch of cars getting back on the lead lap. Did not happen today. Did not have that many cautions. And what happened? You had a lot of pretty decent cars go a lap down early on in that race, and they just could not recover. Now, one guy who did recover, who I think you want to, it shows you how hard it was Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Oh my goodness.
He, early on in the race, gets taken out by David Reagan's buffoonery. He doesn't know how to enter the corner, hits the curb, slides up into him. Jr. does a very good job not to put it in the wall, but he loses the lap because, he's running mid-pack, the tires flat. They take their medicine, they do the right thing, they keep damage off the car, they go a lap down. But the green flag runs were so long, he probably had to pass 4 times as many cars he needed to, because he had to pass so many relap cars to get back up to the cars who lap down, and then of course the leaders put more people a lap down.
The traffic at Martinsville, and it's very impressive that he kept his car so clean, because you see what happened. Look what happened to Brad Keselowski. When you go back into the pack at Martinsville, it is an exponential penalty, because there are so many drivers who don't know what they are doing at this
and they all
track.
run together in the middle of the pack.
And
they all run together.
It becomes a bumper car section.
Yes. And the story with Keselowski, again, we don't know truly how good his car was, because that penalty happened so early in the race. But from what I'm almost convinced that as well as he's run the pass and as well as he ran that first run, I think that Keselowski was a little better. I think he may have had something from Kyle Busch if he did not get that early penalty and bow in the front of the car. I know that it doesn't matter as much in Martinsville, but I think it may have mattered just enough. But I want to get to one of the point with Junior, though, because I think that it sort of highlights another point I wanted to make here with the restarts, which I think is another interesting point about Martinsville, because we just gave Kyle Larson a lot of credit for running up front all day, and Junior, who got back on the lead lap but didn't quite get the finish.
Yes.
You know what the difference between Kyle Larson and Junior's position was at the end of the race?
Inside, outside.
And that's what it was. If you looked at, at the end of the race, they both come in and pit, right? 8 cars stay out. They take 2 tires. The only 2 cars take 2 tires. They come out 9th and 10th. Everybody behind them is 4 tires. Yep. Kyle Larson comes out ahead of Junior. So he gets to restart 9th on the inside lane. Junior has to restart on the outside lane.
Yep.
Kyle Larson gets in the correct lane, passes a bunch of the cars with no tires, ends up getting all the way up to 3rd place, and literally picked off 6 cars in 11 laps.
Junior lost position.
Junior ends up on the outside, and then he becomes the hunted. Instead of the hunter, he's being hunted by the 4-tire cars behind him. And that's literally the difference. If 7 cars had stayed out, let's say Paul Menard came in and Kyle Larson came out 8, and Junior came out,
results.
Junior probably ends up at. So that's how crazy. That is one thing that is that is I don't know if I like it, but it's an interesting.
It's a result, and it's
Martinsville, and you got to be aware of it. In some ways, a lot of it's luck, which is kind of what I don't like about it.
But there is
you
some
do see
strategy games of people slowing down
stopping
on
pit
pit stalls to get the inside, and that is part of it. Now, as much as we want to give Dale Earnhardt Jr. credit for as well as he run there, the final act of him getting back on the lead lap, I think that was a little ticky-tacky.
It was, and in fact, I'm going to make that my purgatory penalty of the race. Now, again, this week, not a bad week for penalty. Overall, it was a great week, but come on, NASCAR. That caution was bogus, and everybody who was watching knew it was bogus. It was the moment that Junior got in the free pass position. Josh Wye literally gets kicked out of the groove, doesn't hit the wall, doesn't spin out. They brought that caution out faster than you could blink. It was brutal. I mean, Junior ran a great race.
Yeah, listen, I was rooting for him.
It wasn't, but
it was so wrong.
I was so appreciative. Like, boy, like Junior really deserves to get back on the lap, and he's going to at some point.
But the way it happened
need to throw that. It was just so dirty
disgusting.
the way. And we knew.
I really don't like it.
And you know what's funny? Junior, if they didn't throw that caution, I bet Junior would have gotten a better finish, because I bet the last restart would have broken differently. He would have been back in 15th
That's
longer.
what we call Murphy's Law.
He would have gotten back on the lead lap later. Maybe takes 4 tires, and maybe he ends up 7th or 8th.
That is so true. That's an excellent point. I love it. Because, I'm sort of almost blinded to NASCAR's penalty. Not that it makes it right. We have been sort of giving them a lot of grief lately. I actually have another nomination for my purgatory penalty box.
Yeah,
Guess what? Denny Hamlin. My goodness. This is your 3rd race in a row that you are speeding on pit road. What is wrong with you?
And he said in the pre-race interview that he had to work on, and he goes out again.
One thing we really got to work on is that I've been getting penalized on pit road, so I really want to make sure I don't do that today. Here at Martinsville, one of, if not arguably, his best chance to win a race is at Martinsville.
His best
very good at Martinsville. And you do that? That is just, the mental mistakes of this driver over the years is mind-blowing. Because if we're talking about physical skill, Denny Hamlin of raw talent has some of the best raw talent in this sport. But
I don't think
his mind.
I don't think there is another driver in NASCAR where there is a larger gap between the physical talent and the mental game. I don't think it exists. I mean, mentally, and we saw, and the number one example is, to me, is still in that 2010 championship. I mean, that he gave away the way that he threw a hissy fit at the end of the Phoenix race when he didn't win because it came down a few miles, and Chad Knapp and Jimmy Johnson played that brilliantly. You almost knew he was, even though he still had the point lead going into Homestead, you almost knew that he was going to gag that away, because that is what he is, just so bad mentally in those spots. And today was just a little example.
And it was just a little example, but the 3rd week in a row at Martinsville, you had both the winner, 2 of his teammates, Kyle Busch, who won this race, credit Denny Hamlin to giving him good advice, and Carl Edwards, who normally does horrible here, but got a 6th place finish.
Yeah, a little bit circumstantial, but still, he was better. He was better.
As good as he had, credits Denny Hamlin for giving him advice, knowing how well he is here, and then to allow those types of mistakes to happen to you at this type of track. 3 races in a row.
Maybe the wheel hop thing doesn't happen, which eventually put him out. That's what actually put him in the garage area.
Yes.
That was the move that finished him off. That was really even the bigger problem today. But in NASCAR races, I really, really love tracks where one thing leads to another, where it's this chain of events. It's not one thing that causes the problem. It's a chain of events that leads up to a certain point, which is why we preach things like we don't like the free pass, because it erases the meaning of everything that happens early in the race. It's much more interesting when things are allowed to build over time. And again, you cannot directly chase that penalty to the wheel hop, I think, as much as you can trace Brad Keselowski's troubles.
Damage, yes.
But the same idea holds.
But you
in
go
that
back and look.
One thing leads to another. The more time you spend in the back of the pack, the more times you have to come up through, the more likely things are going to happen.
Guys, let us know in the comments below. We want to know what you think about who's in that Martinsville Club, who is going to win these races in the future and definitely in the fall during the chase. Like and subscribe to these videos, but also follow us on Twitter at post-race tweets so you can start to see some of our race updates going on. Going to Texas next week.
First Saturday night race of the season. We're going to find out who runs well. If we can see Jimmy Johnson continue to build success, and then we had Atlanta. Got to have a rebound from this week. We'll find out then.
See you then.